All right, so now we're going to look at the sequencer tool, which lets you make movies. We can start to get into more of a timeline kind of editor thing. And I'm going to do this super bare bones because I just want to get the idea across. If you want to, if you want to add more assets or play with environmental stuff, from the marketplace, it'll make your movies much more interesting. But let's just play with the simple stuff for now. Right now, I just got my character. It's not a. Just to be clear, this is not a blueprint. This is not a character blueprint. This is literally just the skeletal mesh actor. It's no different than if I had just dragged this straight out. There's no code built into it. So I have that. I have my directional light, my cube. So what I want to do is go to my content folder and create a new folder called sequence. And to add a cinematic track or sequence, all I have to do is go to my cinematics tab up here and say add level sequence. And I'm going to go to my sequence folder I just made, and I can call this whatever I want. I call it movie sequence, and I'll give it an 01 in case I make some others. And what that does is you can see I'm blocking it a little bit. It makes a sequencer track, which is a lot like a timeline kind of function right here. You can see me scrubbing across and all that good stuff. And if I go back to my content browser, just to clear up where did that come from, if I double clicked on this movie, if I closed this and double clicked, it would open it back up. And it's also in my world outliner now, and this is one of those, it's kind of like the directional light. Doesn't matter where it is. I just zero this out if I wanted. It just have to be in the sequence. And what we're seeing is kind of this track, much like any kind of Final Cut, like Adobe Premiere kind of timeline editor. And what we're going to do on the left here is we're going to add things like a camera, add things like our character. And we're going to eventually be able to key between values over this time. One thing I like to do right off the back is, I believe it is 30 frames a second. I like to show time as seconds rather than frames. It's just easier to keep track of. I might be blocking it down here. I apologize if I am, but there's your range time and working range. If I grab those and scale, it just changes how much time is visible. So if I wanted to make a 10-second movie, I could drag this out to 10, and now I have that. So the first thing we need is a camera. I can add a camera from here, but there's also, if I just go down to track, I believe I can, is there just there's a button right here. It says create new camera and set it as the current camera cut. So I can click on that. And right now I'm piloting the camera, and you can see that it's added a camera, a cine camera, to my world outliner and to my sequence tool right here. And just to kind of walk through all of this, I'm going to close this a bit. You can see up here is a new camera cut, and this is showing which camera we can see in our sequencer. And then this is a reference to the actual camera actor. And if I drop my drop-down menu here, you can see that there's the aperture, the focal length, and the transform, something called spawn, we don't have to worry about. And transform is location, rotation, and scale. Now, right now, the camera is just from working like our viewport. I can move it around. And I want to get out of this, so I'm actually going to say stop piloting the actor. What piloting the actor piloting the camera is I'm kind of locked into the camera, and anywhere I move is actually moving the camera. If I unpilot, now I can go to my F, and you can see that now I can find it as an actual actor in the game. This is going to be a little tricky because the scaling I do to make this not too small, when it brings up the preview window here, I wonder if there's a way to do really quick check. I don't see anything obvious if there's a way to make it smaller in the preview window, so we'll just have to ride with it. And basically, just to bring that back down, I can move this all around and then add it onto here. So like, what do I mean by that? Right now the camera's aimed here at the character. And if I go to my transform, I can add a key. And you can do that with these plus buttons right here. So let's say I just key this location and rotation. And you can see I should actually do this at 0, 0. So I can just move those over. I could delete them and reset 0, 0. I just type it in here, it's faster. Yeah. Location, rotation. Now, if I move the camera, actually what I should do is I should move ahead to 2 seconds here. Then move the camera. And I have this right now where when anytime a property changes on a new timeline, if this is enabled, it'll automatically add a new key. See what I did there? And we can actually see kind of a preview of it moving through time. So now if I scrub back across, you can see from 0 to 2 seconds, the location of the camera in the 3D world space is changing. We can also do that with any of the camera components. So I could key the aperture right here, go out to 2 seconds. And the aperture is not going to make much of a difference, it looks like. So I can, if I do 2.8, the focal length will though. So we'll go back to 35 for this. 0, 0, key it, go back to 2 seconds. I mean, this is I'm like doing this terribly, but I just want to like highlight so it can go back and I can hit play. So you start to get the idea of what we can do here. I want to actually try and set up, we can also bring in animations for our character. Like right now we've only worked with the actor, it's a camera actor right here, but we can also work with anything else. So let's like walk this back a little. I'm gonna grab these keys I have already made, and I can just control drag to delete them. And let's set our scene up a little. We have those poses and whatnot, so I'm going to go to my character here and say use animation asset, pose 1. And I'm going to grab a cube, scale it up. Like a model leaning against the wall there. Go find my camera here. I'm going to zero out the rotation. And then maybe 180. And it looks like it still has the focal length. There we go. Center it right there. That's great. Okay, so let's try and make like an actual like kind of 10-second clip here. Maybe we want to start with like a zoom in. So I'm going to just key the location here. And then I'm going to move right on in. And move out to like 1 second. And did I see. That was where it was before. There we go. And hit play with the spacebar. And see how it kind of snaps in this linear kind of fashion? I believe I can go and right click, make sure that the interpolation, I guess it's not linear, it's kind of cubic. If you ever want to change that, you can go to the animation key curve editor. And I believe I can look at the sorry, like totally overshot it. I think there's something about the scale of this that's off. But anyway, I don't really use it this much. Just know that if you wanted to create kind of easing functions, you can do it with the animation key curve editor right here. So it looks like once I get here, I should probably go back here to my kind of aperture, or I'm not even sure which one I should use. This gonna, there it is. $150. And then maybe I can have the camera kind of pan around him. And go back to here, get the rotation down. And I'm going to rotate and move the camera. It looks like it moves a little more than I want to, or I want the curve, the rotation to start a little bit sooner, or it's starting too soon. Yeah, there we go. And then let's say I want to cut to a new camera. I can always say, camera, where are you? Create a new camera. And it's piloting the camera, I don't need to do that. Oop, I need to eject myself. That's what I was doing. Let's get this back down to like 0, 0, 0. And hit F. Focus on it. And I like this angle. It's weird. It's artistic. And now we want to check what our camera cuts are. If I go back to 0 and say Cinecamera 1, and I just added Cinecamera 2, so now when it plays it back, it's actually going to pivot to this camera, almost like a camera cut. And I recognize I'm probably cutting all this off here a little bit. I apologize. Maybe I can like, yeah, maybe that'll help. So now we have 2 cameras, and I'm cutting, and at cut 2, I'm also going to, let's say I want to change the animation of my character. I can go to track, actor to sequencer, and any aspect of your, what am I trying to say? anything in your world outliner can be added to the track. So if you had a tree or a rock or something that you wanted to fall into the scene, you could change the location and transformation of that as well. So I'm going to add my Daz mail to this. And you can see that here I can also set an animation, so I could change the pose right here. And actually, like, we can even go back to the beginning here and do our pose 1, and you can make sure it goes all the way across. You can see that I got kind of, see how it actually is changing the pose as I scrub through it. And now you could do any pose you want. You could do like the cry kind of pose and stuff. You'll need to do that twist the 90 degrees thing. But that's all well and good, and I'm just going to kind of wrap it up here by just adding a little bit of rotation to that camera. I guess I added some movement too. I just wanted to get something different in there. It looks like I need to make sure that the animation goes all the way across. And I should change the focal length of this camera as well. And maybe we'll just make that as a 6-second clip. So I'll go down here. Now, this isn't going to win any awards. This is in fact a terrible film, but you get the idea of like how you could start to make like a short microfilm, which is your assignment for this. And so the way you render this is you come to this render this movie to a video or image frame sequence. Whatever you set as your maximum length down here, again, you can't see it because I'm blocking it, but I have a 6 there for 6 seconds. If I go to render this movie and choose AVI video sequence, you could also do an image sequence if you want to have like pixel perfect kind of resolution and no hiccuping. We don't have to worry about this too much because it's so simple. I'm going to do a 1280 by 720. I mean, you could go all the way up to 4K if you wanted. I would highly recommend using compression. I think I've done no compression, and like 30-second video ended up being like 20 gigabytes. You probably won't notice a difference with this. So, and the last thing is what's your output directory. And within my week 3 sequencer, I'll just make a new folder called video render. And that should be it. And I can hit capture movie, save selected. It's showing you the rendering as it moves. And I have no idea what's happening with the face. I think I made some mistakes with, let's see if it was part of it. I actually think that's a nice feature in this. I'm wondering if the pose has something weird to do with the facial animations or the morph targets. But I'm going to keep that in there as something to explore. But basically, just to wrap it all up, what we get is that movie file that's based on the timeline that you kind of output right here. And it looks like there's some stuff like the lens kind of flare at the beginning is probably because the aperture is kind of adjusting as it goes. So this is just kind of the way to make movies with Unreal Engine. Obviously, you plan things out a lot more complexly and have more fun with it. But just use that kind of as a tool to explore. Feel free to add way more to your project. I just kind of wanted to do a really bad kind of model photo shoot kind of vibe for this. But have fun with it, and for next week you just need to, with either the assets I provided for you or some other things, just make like a short film that you'll share in the class. So have fun with the assignment, and I'll see you next week.